Hey, welcome back to the channel. So at the time of filming this, we're around Black Friday right now, which means there's a lot of great deals on PC components. I recently had a friend of mine reach out about upgrading his PC. He's currently on an i7 7700K and like a 1066 gig type rig that he's been running since early 2017, I would imagine. And he just said he's ready for an upgrade. He is already running a 1440p 240Hz monitor, so definitely the system he has now is not allowing him to push all those frames and get the full use of that monitor. Now, he's only down for a week or two because he is working in a different province right now, so time is a little bit of the essence. So I gotta bang this thing out quickly, get a video filmed about it, and get it back to him before, I don't know, a few days from now. But for this video, it's gonna be pretty much just building this thing. I don't really have a plan. I just need to build a PC, so it'll be like half an unbox as we go and slap it together and see what we get. So for the sake of time, I'm just gonna talk about the parts as I start using them, and I'm gonna unbox them as I install them, sort of thing. So first up, we have the case. This is Asus's Tough Gaming GT501. So I'm actually super excited to build in this thing because it's a beast case. Initial build quality looks extremely high, and I haven't built in this case yet, so it's always good to experience new things. Looks like there's a bit of a mark on the side panel here. I saw the box had a bit of a... Oh, we're good. We're good. It's just in the plastic. If this was an acrylic panel, for sure would have been scratched, but it is glass. Let's open this thing up and get it ready to receive some computer parts, shall we? So with that quick first look of the case out of the way, I'm going to do what I always do, which is build up the motherboard first. So we went with the Asrock P650E PG Riptide Wi-Fi. I don't know if they make a non-Wi-Fi version. The reason why we went with this board is because based on how long he's had his last PC, he tends to keep PCs for about 5 years or so, and there's a good chance that this AM5 socket will still be supported in 5 years. So if he wanted to do like a full upgrade and get the most value out of this board, AM5 likely will be still supported in 4 or 5 years. So whatever the best chip is out from AMD at that time, he could just do a BIOS update, put it in this board, and just slap a new GPU in, and he'd be off to the races again. Also, the B series boards are kind of always more the value boards. So if you're not going to be doing like competitive overclocking and stuff, or if you don't need all of the extra crazy connectivity that comes along with that. So here's our board. Nice little touch with that foam block from Asrock that holds the board in place for shipping. This really is not going to move anywhere. Oh, it's foam on the back too. Actually, this packaging for a motherboard is probably one of the best pack boards I've ever seen. The zip ties around the foam too and everything holding it in place. That is a really nice board. You actually get a random Asrock keycap, which is kind of cool with this board. An Asrock postcard, that's different. And instruction manual, I'll keep that handy just in case we have any questions about how to install the Nvme drive or anything. And we will just use this cardboard box as our build surface, I think, for now. 1TB 980 Pro Nvme. This was on sale for 149 Canadian. All around fast, good drive. Highly recommend. 1TB to start. There's a lot of expansion options. If he does want more storage in the future, he could just get another 1TB drive and slap it into another one of these Nvme slots. So I was consulting the manual to figure out which one of these slots down here is Gen 4 speed. So we're using the right Gen 4 drive and the right Gen 4 slot. And there was a block diagram in here that's showing a 4-lane Gen 4 link to M2_3. So I'm hoping it's printed on the board, M2_3. That is this one here, populating the drive that way. There it is, your little stick of juicy fruit. So we pop the drive in. We just need a screw to secure that down, which comes with the motherboard. And that's that simple. Replace the heatsink, making sure we peel off the appropriate thermal pad adhesive protective plastic thingy here. Yeah, and we can see that making good contact with the M.2 drive. So now that our M.2 drive's in, why don't we go ahead and just slap the CPU in. Super straightforward. CPU. Went with the Ryzen 7 7700X. Again, this is on sale for Black Friday, but also I kind of suspect that these prices are just permanently dropped on these unofficially by AMD now because they were too expensive at launch in my opinion. And yeah, just plunk her in. So next up, we're gonna slap our RAM in. We got 32 gigabytes of DDR5. This is the Corsair Vengeance RGB RAM. And we got it also in white because we're gonna go for a bit of like a clean aesthetic, white type build with this thing. 5200 megahertz speed on this. They say the ideal speed for the Infinity fabric with Ryzen and AM5 is around 6000 megahertz. However, the price goes up significantly with the speed of DDR5. And you can usually get a little bit extra out of these DDR5 modules. So I'd say this board's about ready to go in. Cooler is a massive 360 mil cooler. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I'm gonna wait till the board is mounted and everything so I can not have a gigantic cooler hanging off this. So let's see about mounting this motherboard in this case. So I also think I'm gonna take the plastic peels off this board now before I lose access to really get my hand in here with the case potentially. So this plastic peel goes down in behind this heatsink. So how would you ever get the plastic peel out without removing this heatsink? Which I could do, but then I risk tearing any thermal pads or anything that are under this. So on a brand new board, that just seems excessive. Okay, I will say Asrock, this is probably a little too much. Oh, just leave it. You don't need to peel all that out of there. You do though, because OCD. Well, it's peeled enough that I can't tell if there's any other plastic down there and I'm not gonna go looking, so hopefully that's good. It does also look like there's a peel, like another peel over top of this. I can confirm, there's a peel over top of the peel. So with the motherboard installed, next we need to either put in the AIO 360 mil cooler or the power supply could also go in technically, not all the wiring yet, because we have to wait till the graphics card's in, but it doesn't really matter. Let's just, let's open up the CPU cooler. So we went with the Lee Galahad 360 AIO cooler. This one is the white, which is the most deceiving box ever. When I picked this up locally, I was looking all over for the white one that was in stock, but the box shows a black one, but there's a black sticker that says white, so hopefully it's white. I knew I wanted to put a liquid cooler in this, like an all-in-one, just because these heat sinks on these Ryzen CPUs are quite thick and they really need the most cooling they can get. Plus, if there is a more power-hungry, more demanding CPU that comes out in the future, I wanted to have a really solid cooling solution already in place so that if this person did want to upgrade in the future, it would literally just be hopefully a CPU and a GPU upgrade and they wouldn't have to change out the liquid cooler or anything else. Which is also why we spent a few extra bucks and went with like a really good quality liquid cooler. I think this was 10 or 15 bucks more, and it was also on sale. And in the off chance that you don't like the big Lee writing right here, they do include this magnetic center cap, which is just a little brushed aluminum circle, and it just really cleans up the aesthetic if you don't want the logo on there, which is another really nice touch. So the first thing we have to determine is where this rad's going. There's two options. We got at the front or at the top. Now the top of this case does have quite a deep cutout, which is good for like thick rads and push-pull fan configurations and stuff like that. But what I'm worried about is that this really nice brushed aluminum aesthetic cover here, if it goes all the way against the case, you're not gonna see it. And if I put fans in there first, it's only gonna space it down to about there. So you're still not really gonna see it. Our other option is to mount it at the front of the case like this, where you would see it quite a bit better. Okay, so I've thought about this, and although it's more work, the best thing to do is to get these ugly black fans out of here, move them up to the top, use these nice Lee fans, which are probably more optimized for radiator use than these factory case fans, which are more probably optimized for airflow. So put these Lee fans here on the front blowing into the radiator with their better fins. Move these airflow fans up to the top and install this rad. And I think that'll just be a lot nicer. So give me a few minutes to figure out how this case comes apart and how to do all that. Okay, now that these fans are installed in at the top, we've freed up the front and we can install the AIO. I think I might also just remove these sled trays since we're not going to use them and they're kind of in the way. Okay, so the CPU cooler is installed. We're starting to look like a PC here. Next up, I'm gonna stick the power supply in, I think, because I want to get this bottom basement shroud back on here and kind of see how it's all looking. So for power supply, this was another Black Friday sale that was going on here. So this is the Corsair RM850, fully modular power supply, and this one is white. Even though you won't really see it too much, there's a dedicated dust filter down here for the power supply. So that will just sit right in here. So now's a good chance to look at what connectors we might need. We got 24 pin for the motherboard. There's an 8 pin plus a 4 pin for the CPU. And I believe the GPU is gonna use dual 8 pin. Okay, no, our GPU uses 3 8 pin power connectors, which honestly, Asrock, that's probably a little overkill for a 6800 XT, but hey. And this power supply does only come with 2 dedicated cables for your graphics card. However, they each have 2 8 pins on the end, which is completely fine for this build. Honestly, I think 2 8 pins would have been fine on this card anyway, so that's fine. So we're just gonna plug them in and just let them dangle at the back for now. So there we go, the basement's back in. The power supply shroud here kind of cleans up things quite nicely. There's quite a bit of room still in here for extra activities. Like you could mount another set of fans on behind this radiator if you wanted. Lots of mounting here for 2.5-inch hard drives. Mount a pump reservoir in here for custom water cooling. But yeah, let's get the GPU in here. So for a GPU, we went with the 6800 XT. This model is by Asrock. This is the Phantom gaming model. This was just on a mega sale on Newegg for about 800 Canadian. This thing is an absolute rasterization beast, which means if you're not doing a lot of ray tracing, which this card still can do ray tracing, but if your main focus is not ray tracing, AMD offers an amazing value for the frames it'll give you. I did speak with the person who I'm building this PC for, and I specifically asked them about ray tracing, and they said, nah, it's all good. I may play with it a little bit, but it's definitely not a focus. Yeah, I don't know, Asrock stuff. It's pretty nice these days. Oh, that was a slight oversight, I think, on their part. Oh well. Let's see, we also have LED on-off switches here, which is also kind of cool because if you happen to use this thing and you don't have software installed for it, or you're using an operating system that doesn't support RGB software, like some sort of Linux install or something, it's nice that you could choose still to have those LEDs off or on. Okay, GPU is in. It's filling up the space nicely. I especially like this bit of white text here, which just happens to be kind of tying it all together. I think I'm just gonna go struggle with wiring for a while on this because I got a bunch of RGB stuff to wire in and everything else, and I guess I'll just time lapse this and we'll do some B-roll when it's done. So system's fully together, updated, running all the latest drivers. There's a few notes I wanted to just go over with the build, so figured to put a little bit of time spy on for some visual candy while we go over a couple of the build notes. First of all, I just want to say to the guy that this PC is going to, sorry about your peel. I know the peel is a big thing for people, and I would have loved to leave that peel on the side panel for you, but because of the shipping damage on the box and that mark that was on the glass on the peel, I was concerned that the glass was scratched, so I wanted to check that. And then for the B-roll, I couldn't leave it on there, so we had to peel it. Probably too much of this video dedicated to peel, but anyway, especially with AMD, but I suppose with any new platform, first thing you should do is update the BIOS. There's a lot of new technology on this board with DDR5 and PCI Express Gen 5, and there's new graphics cards coming out and stuff, so it's always a good idea to update your BIOS to the latest stable release to just ensure maximum compatibility with all your parts and that you're getting smooth, good performance out of everything as expected without any hitches. So right out of the box, we just ran everything stock. We started off with Cinebench for the CPU to kind of look at thermals and performance there. We ran Cinebench R23, and I was surprised to actually see that we would actually hit that 95C thermal limit with like a premium AIO 360ml liquid cooler like this, combined with the Kingpin KPX thermal paste, that we still were hitting that 95C thermal limit. And I know it's designed to run at that, but if we can have lower temps, we can have higher frequencies. So with that being said, with any new AMD build, especially AM5 and the Ryzen 7000 series, I'd recommend going into the BIOS and adjusting some of the PBO tuning settings. So first thing we like to do right off the hop is go into the curve optimizer and set a negative offset. This one we had running with as low as -50. However, just for stability's sake, because I don't necessarily know that this guy wants to be messing with his system, we decided to back off the curve optimizer to -30, which is still going to give him a really nice reduction in temperatures, about 10 degrees C from the quick Cinebench test that we did, as well as actually a boost in performance because the clock is able to sustain a higher boost window because the temperatures are lower. Another benefit of doing the PBO tuning is that the fans on the AIO are not just running full blast now as the minute the CPU gets load, because what was happening before is with all the extra voltage that was getting thrown at the system, the temps would shoot up on the CPU, the fan speeds would all shoot up, and you'd get this kind of annoying noise out of the fan. So with everything running more efficiently, temperatures are lower, fan speeds are lower, system's quieter, and overall it's just going to be a longer running, more premium experience. So talking with the customer, it seems like the most demanding game that he wants to play right now is probably going to be Apex Legends. Probably can't see this because it's really small, but we are running 144 Hertz, absolutely locked at 1080p here. This is also on max settings. It could display more frames. It's just this engine is capped at 144. There is like an extra override parameter I was reading. You can go in and unlock the FPS if you wanted more frames. I have absolutely no doubts that he's going to be blown away with the game performance of this, especially coming from a GTX 1060 6GB and an i7 7700. So that about does it for this one, guys. What can I say? Black Friday this year seems to be an especially good time of year to build a PC because we have a surplus of parts, it seems. We have people not really buying as much stuff because the economy is kind of slower and people are being a little more conservative with their money. So I feel like manufacturers are just kind of left holding the bag for this stuff. It's forcing all the prices down, and they're all trying to compete with each other. So it's just like who can outdo each other on Black Friday. So overall, I feel like this PC is just amazing blend between value for money and aesthetics. Like, this thing is just gorgeous to look at. Let me know if you guys want to see a PBO or Precision Boost Overdrive tuning tutorial. I'm not an expert by any means, but I definitely know my way around a BIOS, and I can tweak out more performance for less power draw like we did on this system. So drop it below if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing. Subscribe for more content like this. I'm still trying to streamline everything in the back end here and get videos rolling out more smoothly. I'm not sure if I mentioned or not yet in this video, but my workstation is dead. I think a CPU issue. It's a 5950X or a motherboard. It's been doing weird things for a while and it's finally just freezing all the time. So get subscribed, you can see that video. It's hardline looped, so we're gonna have to drain that and make a mess. And I'll see you in the next one.